Welcome everyone. Yeah, I think it's live. Uh,
Hello,
yeah,
everyone, and
welcome
welcome
everyone.
to the Toku Portal podcast. I am Ryan. With me is
The decade.
And Zero.
today we're talking about Kamen Rider Zi-O, episode 13. uh, sorry. So we open up with this episode with Gaze trying to kill Sogo in his own house because apparently that's Gaze's new mission statement to just attack Sogo as soon as he wakes up in the morning. What do you have to say?
Uh, kind of silly, but it was just funny watching Sogo's uncle be so positive while all the serious stuff is going on.
Yeah, sorry, just give me a sec. Audio setups. Yeah, anyway, I think we're getting audio on YouTube, so that's good. Yeah, as for Gates, I'm like, at least he's doing something, but I'm like, this is the type of shit he should have pulled like episode 2, you know? It's kind of weird to be doing it now.
Yeah, so they sit down for breakfast, and Gaze apparently puts his entire motives aside for food. Great character you got. And then Sogo finally asks the question that's been on all of our minds. Hey, where did you get those ride watches? He stole them from Omazio. And then Uncle hears the word theft and is like, hey, you shouldn't steal things no matter what. Unless it's a girl's heart. Because,
And
eh,
yeah, that I love how he says that, and it's so cheesy. We cut exactly at that moment. I'm like, ah. It's a good
like,
episode when we actually know when to cut.
it just gives me mixed feelings about how I'm supposed, like, this whole scene. Like, am I supposed to feel, like, tense, like things are not okay, or is this supposed to be comic relief? Which is what I think the answer is.
I mean, the thing is, like, um, Gates is the only one taking it seriously. Like, Tsukiyomi is a little annoyed, and, like, Sogo doesn't care at all, and, like, the uncle's kind of just like, oh, these kids, you know? So, like, I guess it's supposed to be comedic because Gates is the only one taking it seriously.
Well, on to someone who's actually doing something. Waz meets up with the Timejackers in some kind of bar and asks to join them. Not because he likes them or anything, but because he just hates gays that much and feels like Sogo is going off of the path of the Demon King. uh, anything about this scene?
I knew at some point that Waz would interfere, but I definitely didn't see him working with the Time Jackers, so that's kind of interesting. And especially with what he hints at giving them. It's a decent setup.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting that, like, Wa's turn. It's a little early, I thought, but I'm like, then again, this episode feels like the show is finally getting going, so for like it's mostly because like they had to set him up so he can give them the location of the writer that shows up in this episode. Well, okay, the other writer that shows. I mean, the second writer actor. There we go. Yeah, because there's like four other writers running around in this. Actually, normal Ghost doesn't show up.
He
Yeah, whatever.
he does. He just not as a rider.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Um, Yeah, I guess we'll keep going. Yeah, it's
Uh,
interesting that he goes. I mean, like the most interesting thing about that is like the time jackets are all just like hanging out at a bar or restaurant thingy. Um,
oh no,
that
wait, no,
was kind
normal
of
ghost
interesting.
doesn't show up at the bar. Nothing. Go
Uh,
on.
yeah, I mean, my thing was like, oh, it cuts to like the monster attack, and it's like in this dark alley. I mean, road thing, and it's all dark and shit. I was like, holy shit, what the hell is this? Because I'm like, this is the Ghost episode. Nothing in Ghost is shot like this. Um, and then like fucking Agito shows up, and I'm like, holy shit, now I care. And then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe Agito is shot like this. At first, before like Agito showed up, I'm like, wait, did we cross into like the Fies episode or something? Because like they have this scene, and then they go to like the bar. I'm like, this is so like a Fies moment, like Attack at Night. Then it just cuts to that like bar that Lucky Clover hangs out at.
Yeah.
I was kind of getting that vibe, but I'm like, yeah. And then Agito showed up. I'm like, okay, you know what? I could see this happening in Agito because, yeah, the way the like the early stuff of the episode is shot is very early Heisei. And then like later on, it just turns into a regular writer show where it's like everything's bright and the monsters just attack any random person for whatever reason just so we can have a fight. So that was interesting.
So, the thing about Waz is that early on, when we were getting a rate on his character, I put 3 cards on the table. Uh, Waz being a genuine good guy that stands by Sogo, Waz being the real identity for Omazio, or Waz becomes a villain. And that's the one that's happening right now. And I'm wondering if that's the one that's going to if that one's going to stick, or if we're going to get some more character development for him, uh, like accepting Sogo's change. Because the whole reason he likes Sogo is because he likes Omazio. He likes the future that happened. So it would make sense that if he's scared of a different future coming to be.
I mean, the most interesting thing about him happened this episode, where in like the beginning he does like the usual recap, and I couldn't care less to be honest. But he does it this episode, and it's like, yeah, like Gates coming back fucked shit up so hard that it's changing the book now, and that's why he acted. I'm like, oh, okay, at least it's somewhat interesting. Also, that whole bullshit, like last week's preview of like, oh, Gates's last name is, it doesn't matter, it's not in this episode. I was like, what the fuck was that?
I forgot
Um,
about that.
yeah, they totally dropped that plot line. Um, yeah, here's the thing: if Gates was like Takuru's son, it would make so much sense that like he just got the watch from Takuru, and then like he also had the drive one because like Shinosuke and Takuru were pretty much like super close rider buddies, right? Um, but now it's like, oh, I just stole it. I'm like, ah, that sucks because that means we're not getting like four different, I don't know, at least three different, no, yeah, four different riders aren't showing back up. Like Forza is not showing up, uh, Drive's not going to show up, Agito is not going to show up, and like Hibiki's not going to show up now,
Um,
right? I mean, like, I
Not
think,
necessarily.
I don't know. I feel like that's the reason why we got like Agito and Hibiki in this episode, and that's the reason we're just getting the drive thing out of the way.
I
Plus
mean,
the
he had
the
both.
Forza thing already happened.
He had both the Drive and the Ghost watches, and we have Ghost here, so there's still hope for a Drive episode if the actor's not too busy with Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, he's busy doing a movie and stuff. So
Then
I mean,
again,
technically,
so
this.
was Forze. And we still got a Forze episode.
Yeah, I know, but he didn't show up. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like they could get Mock. I'm okay with Mock showing up,
Uh,
or
is he
the
the one that's
ultimate.
dead?
No, that's Chaser.
Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't seen.
that's what I was gonna say. Or the ultimate gut punch of like, oh, we're gonna go back in time and Chaser's gonna be alive. I'm like, ah, you bastard.
I mean, if they're going to have him be alive, then yeah, do it when it's back in time. Gut
I
punch,
know.
yes, but at least it'd be something.
Yeah, but the point is like, it seems like we're finally starting to get into like the story of the show, and the show story doesn't have that much to do with like the anniversary shit. So it seems like the anniversary stuff is just like the first arc. So it's unlikely they're gonna show up. Because if we're rushing to decade and it's not even like the midpoint mark yet, like I don't know. I don't even know what the hell. Like it doesn't seem likely that any of the anniversary stuff is gonna be that important in the long run.
Probably
I don't
not.
know. What do you think, Decade?
Well, Rye made a funny point after the Sentai episode is that a lot of the best stuff Decade has shown up in has been after the actual show.
It's true.
So
It is
we'll
true.
see.
It's the same thing with Kaito. Like everything outside the show. Anyway, go ahead, Decade.
Oh no, that was it.
Uh, so, uh, the next year, whatever, So goes out and about, and another ghost attacks someone and steals their soul. And so Sogo goes to see if the person's alright, and then Takeru and his friend uh, fucking kidnap Sogo because they think he's in league with another ghost.
Right? They're like straight up kidnap people now. I'm like, holy shit.
Like,
That was intense.
I guess I can understand because they think he is involved in what might be mass murder, but still, they just go for it.
I mean, the saddest part is like this kind of just brings into the like realization that like without the damn belt, these guys are useless, right? Or at least Sogo.
Well,
Like most other writers could have gotten out of that. I know it's for plot reasons, but it's like, yeah, he like as long as he doesn't have the belt, he pretty much does nothing. You know?
not that he wants to do anything.
Yeah, you're right. He just keeps wanting to shout. He wants to be at least some character called him out on how bullshit that nonsense is. Right? It's
Right.
like, why should I trust you when you keep saying stuff like that? I don't know. Yeah, that was interesting. Uh, like I didn't expect like the supporting cast to come back. I mean,
It's
uh,
actually really
we
nice to
haven't.
see so many support members return. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't
I
even
mean,
see Ghost, and I'm just happy to see this many of them.
well, they're missing two of the main ones, but they might be in the next episode. So, and actually, probably not. Like I guess Onari already came back for the last movie, and then Akari hasn't come back for anything, so I haven't seen anything. Maybe she's doing her own stuff, so she's super busy. Whatever. But yeah, at least the secondaries, or at least one of them, is showing up next episode.
So they take the kidnapped Sogo back to their, what is it, a monastery or something? And,
Yeah, he lives in like a monastery temple thing because his dad was the old priest,
oh, that
and
makes
then
sense.
yeah, and then he was helping basically some dude from the other side and this parallel researcher, and so that's why like Ghost whole thing is like tech versus magic kind of thing going on early on. It's because like the three people who connected the two worlds were like one guy from the other side, one priest, and one like paranormal scientist dude. Um, yeah, so like they connected. They made like the original portal and obelisk and stuff, and the temple is on top of that, sort of. And then like 10 years or something later, then like Ghost storyline takes place. I don't know. It's this weird era of like early writer where it's like shit happened like years ago, and then like the actual plot starts. You know, like it's like in Double and Drive, maybe Gaim, I guess. Forza probably too. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of one of those that like weird era of like everything happened back then, and that kick-started shit. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Decade?
Um, I'm I'm just surprised. Oh, I guess we haven't gotten to it, but
Go
the
on, say it
way that
anyways.
the way that another ghost is created, it's pretty freaking brutal. And
Well,
most of this stuff has been pretty milk toast recently.
yeah, the way another ghost was created, we learn, is that he is just a policeman, and his sister is almost hit by falling debris, which would have killed her. Uh, he goes to push her out of the way when time freezes, and offers him a contract. Being the good guy that he is, he refuses the contract. So lets him get hit instead, and just before he dies, forces the contract on him anyways to turn him into another ghost. But without that power, he will die.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the most interesting. I mean, yeah, as Decade said, it's like this is probably the most interesting news. Like, this episode is basically the best showcase of like how to do the whole like Kamen Rider Zi-O formula properly, or Amazi, yeah, Zi-O formula properly, which is like you have the time travel shit, you have the people who get powers, you have the original writers, you have like time jacker shit, you have like wars and stuff going on, you have like other older writers showing up, you know, you have your mystery, you have Gates doing his own thing. I guess Tsukiyomi is kind of there, but she does like help them out too. um so like, and like the uncle helps, so like literally every single person in the cast does something, and it's probably like the best episode in the show so far, because like again, this is the first time we've actually hit a dilemma, right, where it's like, okay, what do you do? You
Yeah.
know, like,
What was interesting about this is that it not only ties into Ghost's theme of being dead, but this is the first time where, like, saving them from being a monster would actually kill them. Before, yeah, they've recruited people that would have died, but those people were saved because of it. He's not.
yeah, I mean, plus like that police guy with Agito showing up, I'm like, holy shit, is it third member of the G3 unit? And it's like it's not, but I'm like,
For a
that
second,
would
I
have been
thought it might
something.
have been Drive, but then I looked at his face and went, oh, wait, no, that's not him.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Drive because I'm like, you wouldn't waste a main rider on something like that. But yeah, I was totally thinking it's like it's gonna be like um, the other person from the G3 unit.
Yeah, I
Like
know who you mean.
yeah, he ends up leading like the G3 unit at the end of the show. Man, I wish like all the returning like cop characters would come back, like the ones that decide to stay. You know, because we would have so many of them, it would be so badass. But I don't know. I guess it's sort of like the future writer problem of like they're such cool characters, but we're never gonna see them again unless like the next show is in hyper continuity. But like I doubt it. Um, yeah. Anyway, but it's cool that like you know, like the time jackers offer him like, okay, you can fix this if you take the power. He's like, fuck that, pretty much, right?
Yeah, this is
Like
the
I
first
don't
person
listen
we
to.
see actively refuse.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna find my own way to save her, and he pushes her out of the way and sacrifices himself. I'm like, oh man, you're
Like,
actually somebody worthy of deserving a Kamen Rider's power.
like anyone
But
else
the
who
thing,
might have
yeah,
refused got that one guy that just doesn't give them a chance to answer and makes them do it anyways.
right, which sucks. But like again, it puts it into like the best. That's what I said. Like this should have been the Fies episode, man. It would have been so good because this is basically the themes of Fies, right? Right, like the whole thing with like the orphanage, right? Because like you die and then you come back and then like you're not the same person as you used to be, but like defeating you kills you, and it's like man, this should have been the Fies episode, especially the way it was shot early on.
Hmm.
Anyway, uh, any other thoughts on this?
Uh, I think I said my piece on the whole backstory portion.
I just think it was clever how they explained it, because really, if you think about it, it was just shoved into the episode like right after a fight. But it's okay because freaking creepy Uru is narrating the entire thing, so you really don't mind how sudden it is.
Oh, I mean, the one funny bit that does happen in this episode is the time juggers keep hanging out in that restaurant, which means they keep like freezing and unfreezing time.
But only
So
there.
people, yeah, only there. But the thing is, like, um, so the staff has no idea what all this weird shit is until like another ghost comes back, and then like one of the staffers actually freaks out.
And then they
That
freeze
was
time
pretty,
again, like, yeah, no, none of that. No screaming.
yeah, that was pretty funny. It's also interesting that like Wars isn't affected by like the time stuff at all. Like he's basically on Schwartz level of like, yeah, I can basically keep moving regardless of what you do. So that was interesting.
So, back to the interrogation. Uh, the ghost hunting crew questions whether they can trust Sogo or not. He gets a phone call from Tsukuyomi who says, like, hey, the another rider appeared. Gaze went off to fight him. They're about to trust Sogo when he says, yeah, you can trust me. I just want to be a king. And they're like, what are you talking about?
You know, for once somebody called him out. Like it should have happened sooner, but at least somebody did it.
I feel like other characters that might have were just a bit too preoccupied with other things going on.
I mean, maybe it's also like a throwback to like Ghost's actual plot of like we gotta take down this royal family shit. Um, Unlikely though because like time got reset or whatever, like the timelines changed. But I guess yeah, it is still weird hearing some guy just like shout, "I want to be king." You know, like why would you trust that asshole? Um, but other than that, like I don't know. Like I kind of wish we had like Akari or somebody, but like we don't. We have like this new character. So I'm thinking the way this is gonna get resolved is like most likely she's just gonna tell them like her brother would have wanted uh, them to stop the villains, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
like,
probably why she's around.
someone has to, like, say, your, your brother is dead. And she has to accept that.
Yeah, I mean it's starting to seem like she kind of did. Maybe I don't know. The weird thing is like the way this is shot. Okay, the brother side is a Fi story, but the sister side is an O's story. Plotline wise. So it's weird. Like this could have been two other writers' storylines, and it would have been fine. Because like if this was O's, it'd basically be like imagine that cop guy was like Hina's brother, you know, and you this story would have worked perfectly fine too. It's weird that like we already had the Fi's episode and the O's episode, so like we put in writers that this I mean like it kind of works with Ghost, but it really would have worked with Fi's and O's.
Uh, So Gaze chases another O's to a factory that was going to blow up, or not O's, Ghost. But the another Ghost steals the soul of the person who would have caused it, and also causes a mass panic. But semantics, I guess. Um, they fight for a little bit before everyone else shows up. Uh, wherein Gaze defeats the Nether Ghost, and it's revealed that dun dun dun, it's her brother that she was looking for. Uh, comes in, stops time, but specifically makes sure they're all still aware of the situation, so he can gleefully tell them, if you beat him, he'll straight up die. He needs this to live. Uh, Gaze chases another ghost anyways, but is stopped by Kamen Rider Agito. Or is it? It's Kamen Rider Decade in the Agito form.
Yeah, I mean, plus he has a new belt. What the hell's up with that?
Gotta sell toys. They're already
Oh,
marketing it.
yeah, they are. I was like, what the hell? There's like already like 2, 3 versions of this stupid belt.
Like, I had this conversation with Vashi yesterday.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, maybe they're going with like, okay, it's an upgraded belt. I'm like, okay, I can buy that. Riders do upgrade their shit every once in a while. Maybe the original belt got destroyed. It's weird, but it's possible. Unlikely.
Yeah,
It's most likely for toys.
It's possible that, like, if you really want an in-universe reason, this new belt allows him to access more rider forms, such as the ones that came after his series, seeing how the original one was made for all the ones before he existed.
See, that would be pretty cool if they actually do that. I mean, technically he could already do double and stuff, so I guess it's possible he upgraded it. Yeah, plus the other thing I was thinking is like maybe they originally wanted the belt to be pink to match his camera, but they're like, oh, we can't do a pink rider with a pink belt, like nobody
Why
would
not?
buy it. Well, cut to now, right? Like, how many riders have had like pink belts and shit? Like X8's whole driver is like basically pink with a little bit of green on it, right?
And Kamen Rider Raya back in Ryuki was an all pink rider.
I know, but that's just like a vent deck, because like, shit, were they even toys during the Ryuki era? I don't even remember, man.
They marketed the cards. So yes.
I mean, I know there were belts, but like again, that's just like one thing you slot in. Whatever. It's interesting. I mean, I guess it's maybe we're like more accustomed to random colors of riders now that they can just be like, okay, yeah, that kid's belt, it's pink now, go for it. To be fair, like we've constantly done that too. Like the V cinemas and stuff have come out, like even Ghost and stuff, where it's like riders get new forms even after the show. So like maybe they think it's more.
I mean, pink never used to be like a female specific color.
Yeah, it's a communism thing.
Oh, is it?
Pretty much. Yeah, it's basically like before World War II, it used to be like pink used to be a male color, and blue used to be more female. Where it's like pink was like guys would wear red. You're a kid, so you get pink. Basically, it's like you're not ready for like. You're kind of like the knockoff, not ready yet to wear the red stuff, pretty much, kind of thing. It's
so
just
here's
after,
the almost.
Yeah, and it's basically yeah, pretty much, right? And it's like blue was more like like purity and stuff, so it's like white and blue for girls, red and pink for guys, and it's just like after World War II and the whole like communism scare, it's like anything better dead than red sort of shit rhetoric kind of thing. So it's like, oh, don't wear anything red or pink or any of that stuff because communism. So basically that's sort of like spearheaded the change toward like blue becoming more of a dominant male color. Yeah, I know it's weird, but I think that's the reasoning, or at least that's what I've heard or read.
Well,
Whatever.
if someone wants to, they can fact check that. I'm not even going to remember we had this conversation. Um,
Anyway,
okay.
Decade, what are your thoughts on your new belt? I guess.
Yeah, Decade.
Oh, it's so fabulous. I just didn't have enough pink on my suit, so now I can have pink on my belt as well.
Yeah, the original one kind of clashed a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, to be fair, it's not even the same shade of pink, which is weird, but whatever. I mean, it looks nice, I guess. It stands out a lot less than the white would have been. Like, imagine the Agito suit with like just white. It would be like, okay, yeah, immediately you could tell something's wrong. Whereas like this like kind of slightly darker shade of pink kind of melds in.
Like, if you know Agito's belt, you know it's not correct, but if you don't know, then it might look like it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing too with like Agito showing up, I'm like, fuck, I forgot how good this suit looked.
Oh man.
His
Yeah.
rider kick is so awesome.
It
It
felt
has good
so
taste.
good to see, like, a proper rider kick again.
Yeah, I mean I was more impressed that they like did like the horns and everything. I'm like, that's part of the stuff, but like people forget that. And they added a little CGI and stuff to it too. And it's like closing back up. Plus, like, it's nice to see like the decade effects being updated a little bit. But yeah, man, like this show has nice suits. Like Zi-O and Gates' suits are pretty nice, but like fucking Agito's suit looks so good in this. I kind of wish like the next writer should have a really like kind of slim old school design like Agito. I would totally be down for that.
Alright. So everyone gathers at the monastery to talk about what information they have. And about how they were attacked. Gaze was attacked by Kamen Rider Agito. He recognizes him from one of the statues surrounding Amazio. Sogo prompts Tsukuyomi to give them information about the future based off of another ghost's targets. Tsukuyomi says, "We're not supposed to do this," and then immediately does it and doesn't really put up an actual fight. She's just saying, "We're breaking the rules."
I'm like, what rules, right? Like, your whole existence is to change the timeline. Like, who gives a shit?
Honestly, like, you're breaking a lot more rules just being here. Just existing in this timeline, I feel like. They successfully predict where another ghost will attack next. Before they get there, approaches another ghost and explains to him how to make himself even stronger. Sogo and Gaze show up, henshin, and fight. And the fight is interrupted by the Agito, who reveals himself to be Kamen Rider Decade. And also henshins into Kamen Rider Hibiki to go around and, kick Sogo's ass for some reason. Oh, Sogo also uses the future Ghost Watch, and Waz doesn't show up to say his usual speech. There's probably some speculation there. Could be that because Waz is playing the wrong side, he didn't want to show his face, or it could be that because Sogo is using a watch from the future and not the one he actually receives.
Yeah, it could be that. And the other thing is, like, why did Gates give it to freaking Zi-O? I mean,
Because
Sogo.
Zio's
Like,
the
it
main
doesn't.
character.
Oh, I know that, but like, realistically, it's your watch. Use it.
Honestly, it doesn't matter who uses the watch to defeat the Another Rider.
Right? Like, none of these decisions make sense. Okay, Decade's decisions make sense, sort of, because Decade's kind of just does whatever the fuck he wants.
I think Decade's really just trying to get a read on this situation and figure out who the bad guys actually are.
Maybe. I mean, he also might be trying to save that police guy.
Oh, he's totally
Maybe.
trying to save the police guy. I just wondering if he knows who the like trying to figure out whether get a reading on Sogo basically.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the one other good thing about that, okay, one negative and one positive. Negative is like another ghost shows up and he just starts trashing the place and like just attacking random people. I'm like, ah, that sucks. Like, I wish you had a reason to attack these guys. I know there was that headline of like people get attacked, but like the headline is literally just this attack, so it didn't make any sense.
I think he's just trying to
Um,
scare them away from the area.
yeah, and then
If I were to try to justify it.
yeah, pretty much that. And then like the thing with like Decade's fight is like it's so not coordinated between him and another ghost. Like they don't give a shit. They keep getting in each other's way and like pushing each other away.
I like that.
But
They're not
yeah,
coordinated.
I like it too because like Decade doesn't give a fuck, right? Like that's exactly how he fought in his show,
And another ghost
right?
just knows this guy is my enemy. I need to defeat him.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was great. Um, what did you think of the fight, Decade?
It was fun. I I liked how the Gaim armor actually folded back up when he was done using it. But yeah, seeing Heavy Key in action was nice too.
Oh, you just reminded me of something. I love how when suggests that he'll get involved as well, Sogo just throws the watermelon lock seed at him and he just starts spitting seeds at him until he goes away.
Yeah, I love how he's like, what the hell is this? That was so great. Um, it's one of the few times where it's like, okay, for a while we had this where it's like we had the helper gadget thingies, and they would like fight the villains, but it kind of didn't make sense. I mean, like it started with Hibiki, but like in Hibiki it made a hell of a lot more sense because they usually used to fight in like rural areas, so they would have to cover like a huge amount of terrain, you know. So they just like open like a full set of these guys and be like, okay, go scout out where the fuck the enemy is and tell me so I can go fight them. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe that's why they were using the guy. I mean, Gaim thing, like the Lockseed thing, as a reference to Hibiki, or maybe it was
I
just a
think
coincidence. But
the O's one was more of that kind of reference. The
yeah, the O's one was really nice. I'm like, I always kind of wish it was like, oh, it's another writer helping them out or something, but like it doesn't look like that's what's happening. So they just kind of show up, which is weird, but whatever. Too many toys for this show, I guess. Um,
Is it weird that this show feels like it doesn't have any toys?
yeah, it's because I know what you're saying. It's just they're like throwing so much product on the screen that it's like whatever. It's just wallpaper now,
Pretty much, that's what I'm saying.
right? Like there's, I know. I think the reason is because there's no fanfare. Like, oh look, it's this form. It does this. No, it doesn't. Like, it's just like okay, it's this episode. Therefore, we get this writer's form, and it's never gonna come back. Pretty much. Or when it does, it's like okay, what did this do? It just made you slightly stronger,
Like,
but like the form has no abilities, right? Like
this
that's the
is
problem.
it's the same problem we had with Build, where he had all these different forms, and save like four of them, they didn't feel any different.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Build felt better about this because at least like, oh, this form allows you to fly, and that has a whip, and that has diamonds, and this can make you disappear. Yeah, he didn't use them, but at least it felt like it. Whereas here, it's like, okay, what the fuck is the difference between this the Gaim and the Ghost armor and the Wizard one and like all these? Like, it doesn't do anything. You're just putting them on to get a power boost,
Like
right?
it doesn't
Like,
mimic their abilities other than
yeah.
the finishers, and that
In
just
the
makes them
finisher, you only get one on one opponent, so you're not gonna see them,
at
right?
least with like Xaid, they had different weapons. And then
Yeah,
the
it's
finishers
not
all
a,
felt the same.
which is fine because I'm like, a finisher's a finisher. It's just gonna do, you're just gonna land one. It doesn't matter. Um, but the thing is, like previously when we had like different forms, like wizard, right? Like flame style feels different than water style, which feels different than like wind, which feels different than dragon, right? Like they feel different when you see them on
He even
screen
fights
because
differently.
yeah, exactly. Like there's no difference between switching from Gaim or Wizard or any of them. So that's why I think, yeah, like I can't complain that they're not shoving the toys in our face like fucking Build, where it's like, look at this bottle and this bottle and this bottle. It's like we have so many, we have to keep getting new Pandora's panels to put them on. Where it's like, okay, yeah, the watches exist, but they're so non-existent that it's like they only exist for the fight and they basically have no impact on the show. It's almost like a Fies level of like, who cares? Like I have a story and then the fight happens, right?
Kind
Except
of.
the except the problem is like this is the only episode, or this and maybe the O's one are like the only two episodes where it felt like the story even mattered. You know, where like Soga at
Yeah.
least had a choice or a personality. I don't know. What's
Well,
your take on this decade? Oh, unless you're gonna say something.
nah. Decade, you got anything to say? No? Ugh. Alright. Uh, so, end of the fight, another ghost goes to suck up Sogo's soul. Takeru does some spirit magic to knock the soul away. Uh, so, another ghost leaves on Decade's orders. So, pretty sure he did that on purpose to, like, alright, I know who the good guys are now. Uh, so while Tsukuyomi and Gaze are freaking out over Sogo's limp body, Takeru just casually strolls 10 feet to the left and starts talking to his ghost.
I know, right? It's all like, oh no, he's dead. It's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm just gonna talk to him. Like
He
they
doesn't even tell
literally,
them. He's just
they
letting
can't
them
even look
panic.
up.
They didn't even
Like
notice he
this.
walked away.
I mean,
Which,
maybe he's trying to pretend like, okay, you're not actually dead, but we're gonna play like you died, so if anybody's watching, they'll be fooled.
maybe.
Maybe. My other problem with that is like, why did another ghost leave? Like, he doesn't listen to Decade. But I
Listened
guess
to
he's
him
not.
and he listened to her.
Yeah, I was gonna say like he's not super bloodthirsty, so it kind of makes sense. But like, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Those
Decade
having spirit powers is a little weird. Yeah.
Decade 1 was clearly just trying to get a read on Sogo when he kicked his ass, and now he's like, alright, time to go. No one needs to die here. I'm confident he's working on a way to, like, try and save the policeman.
I mean, with Decade, that's probably what he's doing. He always, I mean, his whole thing is like he always has a trick up his sleeve, right?
The thing is, though,
Um,
I want the policeman to be dead, because that would be a really good wake up call for our heroes.
right, pretty much like a wizard style ending. Um, or, I mean, I think Decade would do it because like he's one been through enough shit, and two he might not give a shit. Um, that like yeah he might end up like the funnier thing would have been if the end was here because he would probably find a way to fix this. But like with Decade, I think the policeman probably will end up dead, which probably be for the best. I mean, story wise. Um, yeah. Also, it's interesting that like it cuts to Decade and it's like, oh, who is this weirdo, right? And then it's like, oh, I kind of like you and how you operate, right? Like the Time Jacker kind of grows to like Decade. I was like, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
she even
I'm like,
offers him,
also,
like, hey, you want the opportunity of a lifetime? Nah.
to be to be king. I'm like, no, because like he already was that. He doesn't want to be that again.
Yeah,
I
he's a
mean,
little
like to be
busy.
fair, if he ever wanted to be, he could just become the leader of another shocker faction.
Yeah,
Like he
he
did it twice already,
honestly,
right?
how many great leaders of Shocker have there been?
Oh god, don't even start. Like there's so many. I mean, the funniest part is like great leader keeps showing up in so many different forms, but yeah, like okay, there's been so many, but like at least half of them are great leader in another weirdo form. But yeah, there've been so many. Um, but also, it's like, where the hell are you, Decade? Are you on like a yacht or something in your weird chair thing? Like, what's going on? What's that room? But I do like his like final line, where it's like, nah, it's fine. I'm just a Kamen Rider, passing through Kamen Rider, destroyer of worlds. I'm like, oh, great, we're rocking both titles now.
Of
That was
course.
pretty nice. Of course, been
Like,
hanging out too long at
so
Garo, huh?
King was complaining that he is still calling himself that because it's not true anymore, but that's who he is. It's not something he chose, it's just something he had to come to accept. And now he accepts as part of himself.
I
Whether or
mean, he
not.
has to. Yeah, I was gonna say he has to when you go to other productions and like the other staff members start calling you Destroyer of Worlds.
Wait, did that
You
happen to
hear
the
about this?
actor?
Yeah, he went to like a shoot and they were shooting something Garo or so. Oh yeah, yeah. I think this is like the first time he met. Oh my god, I don't remember his name. The guy
Amamiya.
who. Uh, yeah, yeah, right. When he met him, uh, and then like they're shooting a scene for Garo, and it's like Decade shows up and like, oh shit, it's the Destroyer of Worlds. And they're all just acting like, oh no, the horror, for a little bit, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then like, I guess they got talking and something, and then he's like, oh yeah, no, no, and then like Decade's actor is like, oh, can you sign something? And he gave it to Amemiya, and then Amemiya is like looking at this and is like, okay, I'm signing this. But then like after he signs it, he's like, hey, wait, why am I signing a Kamen Rider Decade card? So the actor literally just walks around with Decade cards apparently. Um, yeah, so they were talking about how that weird scenario took place, and that's what led to him working on Garo. I was like, that is so in character. It's like, who needs a business card when you can just, like, who are you? I'm this guy, Destroyer of Worlds. Here you go. It's fucking great. Oh man. Anyway, Decade. Um, thoughts on your acting in this episode?
Oh, it's wonderful, as always. The callbacks are great.
Why did you kick the shit out of Sogo?
Oh, well, I know. I just really love Agito, so I was, just testing my powers, and I
Oh,
was
okay,
feeling a
yeah.
bit rusty with Hibiki, so I thought I'd grease the wheels a bit. Kick
Thought
Sogo's
you'd
ass.
beat up the new main rider with a form that you don't use. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. But no, it was good. I like how he's actually the rider, not just some random powerless guy running around.
Oh, I love that the most. He is actually Decade. Like, this is what's been missing from this show. The actual riders being there to have an influence.
Although watching Fruit Jesus disappear was pretty sad. But oh well.
The worst part of that is like it makes no sense. Right? Like, why now?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Fine.
Anyway, yeah, this episode was good. The saddest part is like knowing like we're not gonna get Hibiki most likely. Because like the most likely reason why we're using the suits is because like they're not gonna get a moment to shine and have an episode to themselves.
It's
It's sort of
possible.
like that, sort of like that Forza thing. I was like, yeah, we don't have time.
And Toei, the last I heard, was on bad terms with Hibiki's actor, anyways.
Actor, more like basically everybody who worked on that show.
Really?
Yeah, they basically pissed off like the original writing cast who all left, basically all the actors. Um, Almost every single person who worked on Hibiki is on bad terms with Toei. Almost all of them. Like maybe some of the people who were junior level like production people are still around because they're like, okay, it's still a job. I was just there, I don't have too much stakes in this, so I'll stick with Toei still. They're
Yeah.
still around, but like anybody who was anybody is pretty much gone.
Yeah, the problem with Hibiki's actor is that he was vocal about his dissatisfaction with the direction the show was taking.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not. The worst part is it's straight up Toei and Bandai's fault. Because like we can say, oh, I fucked it up. I'm like, yeah, kind of,
He
but like
did, but
just did.
he was just doing his job.
Yeah, he was just the guy they brought in to fix it
He
up,
was
right?
told, make it more like a Kamen Rider show. So he did. The problem is that that show wasn't supposed to be Kamen Rider.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's sad that's what happened. Like, I wish one day we could get the Hibiki cast, but I'm like, if we can't, it's fine. Because the problem with Hibiki is it's kind of hard to fit in. Like, okay, it's not hard, it's easy. Like, you can say, okay, this is another Hibiki person who works for Takashi, like the organization. So it's like, right, it's another Hibiki member, you know? It's sort of the Kabuto thing of like nobody from Kabuto pretty much shows up. It's like just give, just bring Zabi's suit on. Say this is another Zabi.
Zabi doesn't have a user.
Yeah, it's true. It's like if we ever wanted the suits back or storylines, we can do that. But the problem is then you kind of run into the decade problem of like, well, yeah, you had the suits, but it's like you don't have anybody from the show, So it's like it's almost like what's the point? But I guess this does settle that one problem of like what are they gonna do when they get to Agito? Guess what? They're not gonna get to Agito because Decade already did it, most likely.
They might do it.
I know, which kind of sucks because I'm like, Agito is interesting people. Like they could have still had like, I don't know, man. I kind of want to see like, here's the thing. I want to see like, no, because they rewrote the timeline. It wouldn't matter at all. Like Gills would have been cool, but like, I kind of want to see what like actual Agito, like the main writer, what he would have done because like by the end of his show, he finally becomes like his own person with his own memories and he knows what's going on. So kind of would have been nice to see where he ended up. Like he took up like working at that restaurant, right? But it's like, is that where he stayed? I kind of wanted like a Kamen Rider X situation where it's like, he did like his fights during the show, but like later on you find out like, oh, he decided to become a doctor, because like his dad was a scientist and he wanted to help people. So it's like, oh, it's a nice continuation. I wanted to see where he wound up, Or I don't know, what happened to the puppy gills? That would have been interesting. But yeah, we're probably not gonna get that. But then again, like we got another Agito and Go Riders. So I guess like that's too much Agito for one time. We can't actually have anything else. It's gonna be interesting when we get to Blade. Because the thing is, like, if they want Blade, they can get Blade.
Oh
like,
yeah,
they can get Blade.
If the actor has recovered from the trauma that put him into a hospittal,
shit.
which
Oh
it's
yeah, I forgot about
been,
this.
yeah, it's been quite a few years though. He's had plenty of time to get the therapy he needs. I don't know what he's been doing, but I feel like by now he should have talked to someone about it and maybe recovered a bit at least. I hope, because he didn't deserve what happened to him.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's messed up. What I meant was more like if they need somebody from Blade, because like the
oh
Blade
yeah,
cast is like super close. So like if they want, they could get any of the Blade cast
like they all
possibly. Like I
hang
mean,
out still.
yeah, that's so awesome. Um, they really are like the writer bros, pretty much. Um, yeah, I mean, like they could get Tachibana if they can't get Blade. Um, you know, what would be the most interesting to see like Mutsuki come back
Yeah,
because the whole like, oh, I have an evil destiny, but I decided not to go down that path. Like he would be the best guy to give like the lesson to Sogo. You know, I mean, that's if Sogo was going down a bad path. He seems to be generic writer right now, but you know, at least to be something.
all right. This is running late, so final thoughts. This episode was just good, well done nostalgia. Just everything about Decade's involvement in this episode made me enjoy it far more than I think I would have otherwise. Uh, for better or worse, like take that as you will. This is. I wish that more of this series was more like this, because this seems to be the aim of the show, anyways.
Yeah, I like that the plot is actually progressing. The time jackers are actually starting to work with each other, and Waz is trying to work with them now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. It looks like next episode's gonna be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with what both of you said, probably yeah, this is definitely like the best episode of the show so far, and yeah, like you said, like this is pretty much what the show should be. Next episode looks crazy, but I'm like, it seems like there's gonna be a lot of action. I don't know how much story we'll get, but you know, if they somehow manage to sneak in a good story like this episode, maybe the show might finally be picking up, which is good. Um, I just wish these new shows wouldn't take till like fucking December to get their shit together, but like at least, you know, if it's just the first arc that's bad, I'll be fine, you know, but it has to stay consistent. It can't relapse.
Alright. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We really enjoyed this episode. We'll be back on Tuesday for more Looping Ranger versus Pod Ranger. That show is on like its last 8 episodes. Uh, more or less, it's ending in February. And we'll be back next Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Zi-O, the second part of this episode. See you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.